Hi guys, Tori here with a new video, and this video will be a Destruction Warlock PvP guide video for Mr. Classic, the first season. The next seasons, there's a few things that could change stats wise, but I'm going to talk about stats, what you should go for your enchants, what you should be aiming for your talent builds, your glyphs, your overall comps that you can play for 2v2 and 3v3. I'm not going to talk about 5v5 too much in RPGs as well because it's very specific. I might make a specific video for that. We're going to talk about as well the rotation, what you should look for, and obviously the demons as well, because if you're playing with the superior warlock talent, like demon talent, you have like pets that are like doing other effects, so that could help as well with your decision with the talent builds as well. Let's talk about Destruction Warlock first. Destruction Warlock is a very strong class and spec to play. It's not S tier by any means because they have like buffed the resilience, so obviously you're not going to one-shot anyone right now, but the more the seasons goes and the more stats you will have, the more scary it becomes. I personally prefer Destruction Warlock over Affliction Warlock in the fun factor and having fun with doing what I do. What I also like to do with Destruction Warlock is like literally do 1v2s, and that's very possible, and 1v1s. I feel like Affliction Warlock is a bit more lagging behind through that real like punchy power that Destruction has, while the Affliction Warlock doesn't have. The Affliction Warlock itself has like a lot of like pluses to it, and it's very more meta than Destruction Warlock, but for the reasons of arena and dampening and how it plays in the comp, while Destruction Warlock a standalone can do very well in BGs, in arenas, in world PvP, in duels. I do feel like it's a very complete spec. You can survive all of the damage, you have a lot of sustain, and I do enjoy that factor of Warlock. I didn't play in Cataclysm too much Warlock. I did play it, but I didn't like it too much because Chaos Bot didn't do any damage. While right now my Chaos Bot actually does very much a lot of damage. It is a shadow spell, so if you get kicked on it, you cannot do fears, but you can do conflags, immolates, and incinerate. If you get kicked on incinerate, you can do chaos bolts as well. So it's a double school. It's a double school spec. You can even say triple school if you count Shadow Flame, but I would say like Shadow and Fire, which is like one. It feels very nice to play. If you are getting kicked as a Frost Mage on Frost, you don't really do any damage. While as a Destruction Warlock, if you do get kicked on Chaos Bolt or Incinerate, you can still do something besides that. So it's very strong. Also, CC is very important for Destruction Warlock. You have your Shadow Fury, which is kind of nerfed because now Shadow Fury is a choice in the builds and the talents, while you had Mortal Coil, Death Coil. Now you don't have it anymore. A Mortal Coil, which you don't have it anymore. So you have to choose between them. You can do double coil or you do for the stun. Shadow Fury, you play it basically in comps where you like a stun, and if you have a lot of stuns, so if you're playing with a rogue or if you're playing with a warrior, you don't need Shadow Fury, you can play Mortal Coil, for example. But I'm going to discuss it in the talent build section. Now let's talk about stats. I'm here, Way of the Reforger. Basically, the stats are very simple. You want to have 6% hit. This is a must. You cannot go lower. You don't want to go higher because it's a waste. In PvE, you want to have 15%, so it's not as easy. But in PvP, you can like have 6% and do very well with it because that's the minimum and that's the maximum that you need to perform well. Then I would say intellect, obviously you want it as high as possible, and you have mastery. Mastery is my go-to stat with crit. Yes, haste is not my go-to stat. I do want to have a bit of haste, so I do try to aim around 4%, 5%, and that will help me with, that would be possible with me with epic gear. So if I have the conquest gear, it will be possible to do so. But right now it is not possible with the amount of gear I have. I still have not completed my whole like gear piece from the honor vendor. I have a bit of honor to spend, but I wanted to make this video because a lot of people still don't know what Destruction Warlock can do. So I would go for Mastery, then Crit, then Haste. The reason is that Mastery is a overall great stat. It improves your Incinerate, it improves your Immolate, it improves your Fell Flame, it improves your Conflag, and you would maybe read it wrong, that's possible, but it increases the effectiveness of burning, ember consuming spells. A lot of people read it as Ember Tap being improved, which is not the only thing that gets improved. What it gets also improved is the Chaos Bolt, because it's a burning ember consuming spell, but also Shadow Burn. And if you can read it correctly, Shadow Burn does 89k shadow damage, normal hit. And that's like a PvE. In PvP it's a bit lower because of resilience and other stuff around it, obviously. But right now, this is like the best Omega stat for Destruction Warlock. Now, obviously, if you're playing... So about Mastery, the thing about Mastery is that it is an overall super stat. The same as you could say that the eggs are a superfood, this is a super stat. So basically it improves everything from your kit. Incinerate, Immolate, Fell Flame, Conflag. Then we have the Burning Ember consuming spells, which are Chaos Bolt, Ember Tap, and Shadow Burn. This overall improves your whole playstyle. If you compare it with Affliction Warlock only improves the dot damage. So Haunt is not improved, your Malefic Grasp is not improved, there is like only dot, like those 3 dots are going to be improved, and so it is not a super stat. Your super stat is Haste because it has more ticks, which improves your amount of damage you can do. But that's for an Affliction Warlock video. Destruction Warlock, you want Mastery. Mastery is fun to play because you will do more damage. Your Chaos Bolt always crits, so crit is still important, but it is not as vital as, let's say, Mastery right now, because Mastery scales way better. For the amount of Mastery rating you will have, you will improve for 27.25 points, while crit, I have, for example, 2k, and it only improves crit for 3.36%. So even then, it doesn't really feel that good. I could even put everything in haste, but truth is, the later seasons, crit is going to be very interesting, because the more crits you have, the more burning embers you will have as well, and obviously the more chaos bolt potential you will have as well. But Mastery, very strong. I would recommend everyone to go for that, because you will survive a lot of the damage because of Ember Tap. You're going to obviously do a lot more damage, and that's basically how Destruction Warlock plays. Crit is also very important, because I will show you, crit affects obviously the damage from your Incinerate, Conflag, Immolate. Also your Chaos Bolt gets like a modifier for it, so that's also cool. But the truth is that if you don't crit, it takes ages to actually get your burning embers, because it only gives you 1/10 per cast. So for example, my Incinerate, if I'm doing an Incinerate, it's only 1/10 of the ember. Then I have a crit or a hit, it's 2/10 now. If I crit, it will become 4/10. Do I have a crit here? It does crit, now it's 4/10. If I do another Incinerate, it will be 5/10, and etc, etc. And this is like for every time it's going to be the same, basically. It's not as effective if you don't have crit. If you have crit, it becomes a bit easier to like have a bit of a regen, so you can then use it on Ember Taps, or use it for, let's say, a double silence, so you're doing an interrupt and then another interrupt. That's also possible with Flame of Xoroth, or to revive your pet because your pet took too much damage from your Soul Link. There's a lot of things that you can like play around and have fun with. Now that's the important stats you should go for. Obviously, if you're doing PvP, you want to have PvP power and it to be the most high possible. There is no like in between. You kind of have to go for those stats. If you remove, for example, your neck, it's only 26%. Obviously, if you remove the ring, it becomes like 25%. You will remove another ring, it becomes 24%. So every single gear piece from PvP counts a lot, and you really want that in your gear. What else should you go for? Again, you need to have 5 set. 5 set, already made the video about it. 5 set for honor gear is super important because you have more PvP power again, but also you have 2 bonuses, which is Twilight Ward, now absorbs damage from all magical schools. Right now Twilight Ward is useless except fighting versus Shadow Priest or Affliction Warlock or Unholy DK or Paladin maybe with holy damage, so it's not that effective. And it shows kinda, right? And you will also have like a cooldown reduction on Demonic Gateway, which is going to become a 45 seconds CD instead of a 1 minute CD if you go through the portal. That helps a lot. And then you have your hands, which is my next buy pretty much. You will get a reduction on Demonic Circle teleport spell by 5 seconds. And if you take the glyph, it will become a 21 second TP every single time. So it's going to help you with kiting a lot versus those melees. And if you have like vertical maps, you can really play around that and survive all of the damage that you would otherwise not survive if you don't kite. Now, let's talk about the build. I have showed you multiple times, but I do change the builds up every now and then. Dark Regeneration is a always pick for me right now. I do try Soul Leech a bit out. I do believe like it's very hard to have a huge positive on it, because again it's 10% of your damage dealt becomes a shield. It is just like, I mean, I can show you, right? I'm going to show you. So if I'm doing incinerates, excuse me, if I'm doing incinerates, you will get a shield. Well, it doesn't show on a... Wait, do I have to have a pet? Maybe I need to have a pet out, so I'm going to get my pet out. Don't know why it doesn't work here. In PvP it does work. No, it doesn't show. Whatever. I mean, that's weird. That's kind of weird. Well, it doesn't work. Anyways, I wanted to test it on a dummy. I don't want to jump into BP to show you the shield that you would get. But basically, Dark Regeneration is the one I play every single time. You have Shadow Fury and Mortal Coil, which are the two like you can swap around. Demonic Breath is not worth it because it has no damage and it has like poor range and it's only 50% reduction. If it has 70%, maybe it becomes like something interesting. If it was like way more wide, why not? But truthfully, Mortal Coil and Shadow Fury are the ones that you would play. Shadow Fury, if you are playing in arenas and you lack a stun, for example, you're playing mage lock, or you're playing mage elemental shaman, I mean destruction warlock elemental shaman, or you're playing with, I don't know, a shadow, why not a shadow priest, for example. If you're playing, let's say, with a boomy, you will lack somehow a stun on a target for sure, because you just lack a stun. You only have bash as a balance druid, and you have, let's say, Shadow Fury as a warlock. If you're playing with a warrior, or you're playing with a rogue, or playing with someone that has like double stun, which is like often, or possibilities to stun multiple times every 30 seconds, I would be playing Mortal Coil to follow up that stun. So you have a 5-second stun, and then you do a Mortal Coil, which will then extend that stun duration, and then into a fear, and then again you can do a lot of stuff with it. While Shadow Fury would have a lot of DRs around it, and you would for example, DR a 5-second stun with your 3-second stun, which kind of sucks, right? So that is pretty much like in RPGs I play, in random RPGs I play Shadow Fury the most. In arenas it will be able to swap around depending on the comp you're facing and the comp that you're playing with yourself. On the 45 row I have Soul Link right now. The truth is that Sacrificial Pact is really interesting. It's a 1-minute CD, gives you a big shield, but it is like less consistent. Soul Link gives you literally a 20% less damage taken. It makes that your pet does die often, but you have, as a Destruction Warlock, the luxury of having Flames of Xoroth. So if the pet dies, it's not a problem. You just press Flames of Xoroth and it comes back. It's a 1-minute CD as well. something that Demonology Warlock really lacks. If their pet dies, they get like a buff, then they can use to revive the pet for free and instant. But it's a 2-minute CD, so basically the pet really dies very fast. Sacrificial Pact is strong, but again, like I said, I prefer Soul Link right now. And Dark Bargain, I see some play. I could play it. Truth is, it's a 3-minute CD, and 3-minute CD is really long, and you could probably survive and heal yourself way more with Soul Link than what you would stop the damage off with Dark Bargain. And the Social Warlock is one of those specs in class, also just Warlock as a class, can get out of stuns pretty reliably and can survive a lot of damage by just kiting and like sustaining. You have, for example, on the next row, Unbound Will, which basically it works as a second trinket and purges all magic effects. So, for example, if you got Deep Frozen, you can basically do Unbound Will and you're good. If you get like rooted, or if you get like stunned, any stun, even if it's like a physical stun, you can also Unbound Will, and it's really strong and just makes it way easier to survive damage, while other classes would probably need a Dark Bargain or Sacrificial Pact, because if they're sitting in a 6-second stun, good luck, they might just die out of that, while you can just like liberate yourself and TP away and give time to your healer to actually heal yourself, heal you, or yourself to sustain yourself back again. But talking about Unbound Will, there's also a play where you could play Blood Horror. Now, it's a non-DR fear, so it means that even if it's DR'd with fear, if they hit you with Blood Horror, they're going to be feared again up to 4 seconds. The issue is it's only 1 charge, lasts 1 minute, and again, it's 30-second CD, it's not bad, but like, it's a melee attack, right? So you need to be facing a melee a spec that is going to hit you and feel the Blood Horror obviously as a problem, and warriors, for example, goes through it very easily. Burning Rush is interesting for PvE, for example, to catch up. While I was doing monkey runs, I basically played with Burning Rush so I can catch up to everyone or go faster than most classes and specs. But like it drains too much HP. If it was like 2% or 1%, you could maybe play it in arenas as well, but 4% you can just like lose too much HP with it. And you have the problem with Burning Rush where it's on the same row as 2 other very good talents, so you will go for Unbound Will most of the time, Blood Horror for most, like some matchups where you have like a melee, let's say a enhancement shaman, a DK, a Paladin or Rogue. You can basically play Blood Horror and it will help you, especially like a Rogue that like engages on you and you have Blood Horror, that it just ruins their go, obviously. The 75 row is interesting. For me, there's only 2 options. So you have Grimoire of Supremacy or Grimoire of Sacrifice. Grimoire of Sacrifice, if you have Soul Link, gives you 20% maximum health. If you don't have Soul Link, it will not give you 20% health. It will give you still the bonus of the 15% increased damage single target, and also the regen on 2% of maximum health every 5 seconds. It's very fun as well. It is possible to play it as well. What I like about Grimoire of Sacrifice, so I'm going to play it right now. So I can show you. If I have my Fell Hunter out, right? For example, I have it out. You know what? I'm going to sacrifice it. I have it out. That guy is going to interrupt, or he's going to frostbolt. I'm going to interrupt him. Flames of Xoroth. I have it back up. He's going to cast again. Boom. A silence again. So basically, they get double interrupted, and interrupts are not DR. The silence is. So if you are interrupting a spell, let's say Frostbolt, he's going to aid that Frostbolt for 6 seconds. And then if he casts again a polymorph or a Frostbolt, he's going to be able to get interrupted again for that amount. The silence itself is going to be DR'd, but that's not the reason why you are actually pressing spell lock. So that's a very, very valid reason why you would play Grimoire of Sacrifice compared to Grimoire of Supremacy. What I do like about Grimoire of Supremacy is that you can play, well, it's on CD, so I'm going to wait for a bit. What I like about Grimoire Supremacy is that you can play with Succubus, which is Shivara then, or you can play with the Imp, which is also quite nice for BGs, not really for arenas, which I'm going to explain why. And I do like also the Fell Hunter, which is Observer, but I don't really see the appeal to it. Basically, right now, if I have the Fell Hunter out, what does change is that where is the pet bar? Pet bar is just gone. I don't know why, but let's put it back up here. You have your Shadow Bite, obviously. You have your Devour Magic, and that's it. What I do like about the Fell Hunter is that you have. What I do like about the Observer is that you have somewhat of a damage, like you do damage whenever you're going to do spell lock. You'll see. So we have spell lock, we have Devour Magic, and we have a Shadow Bite, and then we're going to swap to Supremacy, which is not bad, by the way. It's definitely like a very good pick, especially if you're like changing multiple of your pet abilities and whatnot. I do like that as well. But for example, Clone Magic, it heals for more, gains the same amount of Fell energy, and it's the same CD, so it's not that attractive. Your Tongue Lash is 10 yards, so it doesn't need to be very close to the enemy to deal any damage. And you have Optical Blast, which does shadow damage. Now, it's okay, like 2.8k, it's not going to be like revolutionary, but it is what it is. Why I would be playing with Grimoire Supremacy is because I am swapping pets in BGs, for example. So if I'm playing with Shivara, which is the Succubus equivalent, you can actually have Mesmerize, has no CDs, and you can like seduce a target whenever, right? So that helps as well. So he's going to be seduced. And what I do like as well is Fellash again. Fellash is the same as with Succubus. Really, it doesn't change too much, except that it is not a melee anymore. Your Blade Dance is 20 yards range, so he does just not die as easy as a Succubus, in my opinion. Then you have your Fell Imp, which I do like, because you have an ability which is different. You have the ability to Cauterize Master. Cauterize Master is really interesting because it regens 12% health over 12 seconds on a 30-second CD. If you are combining, let's say your Dark Regen, your Health Stone, and your Cauterize, it does a lot of healing like per second, right? I'm going to life tap. I don't know if I have life tap. I don't have it bound. I'm not using it these days. You don't have life tap as a destruction warlock. Well, I might be mistaken, but I don't think you have it. You don't have it. That's why it's not bound. But if you're life tapping, you are basically going to have the ability to do Healthstone. Right now I don't think I can Healthstone because I'm full health, but for example I do Cauterize on myself on the master, then Dark Regen, it heals 4 way more, obviously. That's a lot of regen by itself, and you can survive all of the damage. I do like also that the Fell Imp does a lot of damage, so I'm going to send the Fell Imp, for example. That's PvE, it does 21k. So also the Fell Imp is the one that you are going to run if you're doing PvE because it does a lot of damage. But what I like about the Fell Imp is that it does also a lot of damage in PvP. In PvP it does 8k per fireball. It's not bad damage. If you compare it with the other pets just do no damage. So that would be the reason why I would be playing Grimoire Supremacy, and that's often in random BGs. In arenas, I might just play Grimoire Sacrifice because that's the more consistent one. Grimoire Sacrifice is interesting. I'm going to again show you guys what is the benefit of Grimoire Sacrifice. Grimoire Sacrifice helps with the fact that it does more damage for you. So you have more damage on your Incinerate, Conflag, Shadowburn and Fell Flame, which is 15% increase, and if you count with the Mastery as well, it just makes it way more stronger. Then you have obviously your Chaos Bolt deals 15% additional damage over 3 seconds. That helps as well because again you are running mastery, so you're going to deal way more damage overall with just one Chaos Bolt. So for example, do a Chaos Bolt, it does 171 and then 8k, 8k, 8k. So if it crits, everything crits obviously, and Chaos Bolt always crits, so it just is doing more damage for you. In total like 197, it is indeed 15% more damage. And then you have your maximum health because you're playing with Soul Link. 20% health is immense. Like I have 464k, which is basically the highest HP you can have, I think, bar the tanks, like a Garden Druid or something like that. So there are the two options. You can also play Grimoire of Sacrifice with Sacrificial Pact, but it will sacrifice your health. I think it's quite hard to justify sometimes because you're going to have to use it at high HP. If you're not using it at high HP, it kind of sucks, right? So if you're like engaged by a rogue, you Sacrificial Pact directly, but he could then blind you or like stun you or just vanish, for example, away, and you have used your Sacrificial Pact for nothing, and then he can just engage again. So that's the thing about a Sacrificial Pact that I do not like. The same for Dark Bargain. It is interesting, but it's a 3-minute CD, and in most occasions it's easy to just ignore it. So yeah, those are the options that you have. Then you have your last row of talents. Basically, I do not play Manor of Fury. I don't see a lot of utility to it. Maybe in PvE, but even then, I don't see it too much. I play with Killjoy and Cunning in BGs because I do like to be mobile. That's like helping me a lot, especially if I'm kiting the warrior as much as I can, away from the fight, away from the healers. I want to be able to do continuous damage. Now, obviously, you can also do Fell Flame, it would be the same really, but it just does half the damage that you could do. But in arenas, if you have the possibility and you feel like confident enough to play, this is like BIS, right? Having 2 Dark Souls makes your damage like really strong. For example, I'm popping it right now, Chaos Bolt, and it does 207k. It's like, this is like very hard to survive. Obviously in PvE you do that much damage, in PvP it's not that much, but having more crit means also that you're going to regen a lot more burning embers, and as a whole also do more damage with your Chaos Bolt and do more ember taps to survive, or more shadow burns when someone is low HP, and you can then do another go very easily. What you could do is basically hold the Dark Souls stability. That's the play you should do in my eyes, is that you hold it with your trinket. You don't pop it back to back, you hold it with your trinket, so it's a 1-minute CD, and this becomes like basically a 1-minute CD Dark Soul Insanity. So that's instability, excuse me. So that should be the play for you to do damage in arenas, and often 2 trinkets is enough to actually put that much pressure that everything has already been used CD wise. Now glyphs, very simple. For me, Conflag is a hard lock. I just like the ability to not have to immolate every single time. Immolate is important for sure because it gives you more burning embers, obviously. It is going to regen a bit of burning embers over time, and if you are like doing multi-target, for example, I'm doing this target and this target, immolate is going to help me with getting those burning embers, right? And as a whole, if you are able to do multiple immolates, it's going to like buff up your overall damage, but it's not going to be the thing that is going to like eliminate targets, right? It's not the immolate from retail where literally immolate is your top damage because of the dot damage being that high, and the ability to have a lot of haste because of immolate in retail. In most Mists of Pandaria you don't have that. So I do like the fact that if there is no immolate, I can actually snare it, and he's then slowed, right? I play with Glyph of Healthstone because it gives me 40% health basically, and you are very sturdy, you do survive a lot, and that just gives you more raw healing, and that paired with Dark Regeneration just gives you even more healing, right? you have 25% increased health, healing received with Dark Regeneration. If you're parried up with Healthstone, it just means that you're doing 1/4 more healing, so it will become a 50% healing instead of 40%. So it's really big. Obviously, the on use is also interesting, but it's 20%, and often than not, if you're using it, sometimes it is just too late. And the 20% is not going to save your life, but the 40% over time, since you are tanky, is going to help you recuperate a lot more HP. Now the other talent glyph I'm using is Glyph of Eternal Resolve. That is a soft lock. Basically, in BGs and in arenas, it is a passive 10% damage reduction at all times. Some people don't like to play that because they like the fact that you can actually prevent spells to be interrupted and silenced for 8 seconds, but it is a 3-minute CD, or you can take the other unending resolve, which is a glyph, which is the reduction is then reduced to 20% instead of 40%, but the cooldown is also reduced by 1 minute, so it means that you have a 2-minute 20% reduction that is helping you with casting spells. So that is also an option for you. If you prefer to play this, I understand. I do like the fact that in BGs, I am just passively tanky. So I prefer to play that right now. In arenas, I might swap to Glyph of Unending Resolve, just basically to be able to do my go, right? If I have like 2 double conflag, so let's say I have double conflag. I have a Havoc here, I swap targets, I pop every single CD, Chaos Bolt, I have a double Chaos Bolt here, and basically I will do a lot of damage, right? And that is like a big go that like not a lot of people are going to survive if I have like the luxury of doing that go. But for that, I do not need to have Unending Resolve or having all the stuns and interrupts to be away. But since Miss Pandoria has a lot of interrupts, a lot of stuns, a lot of like possibilities to be stopped, sometimes having that glyph is going to help you with that. What else can you play? You could play Siphon Life as a soft lock. I personally don't like it. It's only 0.5% of your maximum health every single time it deals a periodic damage, so it's not that interesting. But yeah, if you have multiple ones, so if let's say you have 4 immolates up, it's going to heal you for 2% every tick, right? So if those 4 ticks, it's 2%. That could help as well with survivability, but really I don't feel like you have the time to do like 4 immolates every single time, because you're going to waste your time doing immolates instead of doing conflags. But if you're doing like a fire and brimstone, for example, well, now I did spend it, so I will have to regen it again. If I'm doing a fire in brimstone, I do immolates. I have 4 immolates. It's way easier to sustain and get like those 2% health back. But I wish you had like a 4th spot, but you only have 3 spots, so you will have to make decisions. What else could you take, really? Because I personally play only this. You could play Demonic Circle, so instead of like having a Glyph or Eternal Resolve or Healthstone, you could play this, and then you have a 21-second TP with the hands that you can buy from Honor in Conquest. That's also very interesting. You could also play Demon Training, so basically it will make your imp do crazy damage. You play that basically for the imp. Or the seduction, so you can also remove the damage over time. I would not play that if you are playing with Fall Hunter, for example. There is no need for that, but this is making your imp like go crazy, basically. In PvE, Glyph of the Curse Elements is also interesting to be able to do double Curse of Elements instead of having GCDs. That's the only reason. And then minor ones, I would say like those 3 I take, basically to make it a bit more cool, but it is optional. Now, rotation wise, what you want to do is always being able to do immolates first, if you can. If you can't, that's not a problem. Then you have a Havoc, and then you can do your rotation with your Conflag and your Chaos Bolt to do a lot of damage directly from the get-go. And then, obviously, do as much incinerate as possible. If you have Kill Jane Sculling, that's way easier to do so. Standing still in arenas and in BGs is not as easy, but if you have a healer, that can be helped. And I think in general, if you are on the move, you can do just do Fell Flames until you have enough burning embers. Obviously, be careful for your mana, because it does spend mana, the Fell Flames, which is not like something you can very much spam. And overall, have always your curse of the elements, because that is going to enable your damage. And then once you have like enough burning embers, you can do maybe double kills, which is going to help you with the damage that you can do towards the overall team. Just be sure to be doing kickoff flag before you're doing havoc. Like on this example, I didn't do that, and like double kills what didn't happen. But if you have like the preparation for it, I do conflag, and then I'm going to do a curse of elements on both targets, havoc, and then you can do a big kill spot, which is going to hit those two targets, and that's going to be enough pressure to kickstart like a go, or kickstart a moment where they're going to use CDs maybe together, which is going to help you win the arena. Let's talk about comps really quickly. Comp wise, 2v2, you can play double DPS. You can play with a healer as well, with a restoration druid, for example. It's very much doable, especially since they have a bit of damage, they have a bit of CC. What you could do also as well, like I said, play with a double DPS. You can play with a rogue, and that can be very strong and very fun as well. The matches are going to be very quickly. You can play with a shadow priest as well, but the shadow priest will have to off heal often. And they will have to be careful with how the overall health is from the whole team. What else should you play? I would say double DPS wise, you can play maybe even double Warlock, or Warlock with a mage. That is also possible. It's very much like a kiting game though. You will have to know that you will have to ember tap often and use your CDs with a lot of care, not like use your CD when you don't need it. And also your stuns and your Hall of Terrors, you will need to use it correctly. I didn't talk about like CC, but you have a lot of CC. You have obviously your you have your Fear, which is very strong. You have obviously your Hall of Terror, which is instant, something you didn't have in Cataclysm. So that's also very strong. And you have your Shadow Fury. Those three are your CC potential. You obviously have a silence if you're playing with Fell Hunter or Observer. And if you are playing with Grimoire of Sacrifice, you can basically have a silence and then another silence basically. So you can double silence. And if you have Havoc, you can basically silence both targets at the same time and interrupt both targets at the same time if they do casts at the same time. So that's also very strong. So you have the CC to finish matches, especially if you are like paired with a good DPS or a good healer. You can really do a crazy CC chain that is going to help you with finishing games. So that's also very helpful. 3v3 mage lock, super fun to play in my opinion. Elemental shaman with a destruction warlock is also very fun to play. You could play with a melee, so I'm like with an unholy DK or a frost mage. You could play with a shadow priest for shadow play. They're also going to appreciate you very much. But you are not really a dampening spec, because a lot of your sustain comes from healing, which is ember taps, your dark regen, your health stones. So you want to finish matches quickly, and for that you need like specs that are like able to finish matches quickly. You could literally play Warlock Warrior as well with a healer, and that is also a very good comp because you have a Moral Strike, you have CC with a double lockdown, for example Shockwave or Stormbolt or whatever, and you can basically set up a big chaos spot towards the enemy, so you can actually win the game directly from the start. So those are the comps I would be playing. Obviously, there are a lot of comps that you can play. A lot of comps you can play. You can even play triple DPS. In Miss Pandaria, that is also possible. As long as the CC is there, you can like blow up someone. But I really love Miss Pandaria Classic Destruction Warlock gameplay and design. I think it's super fun. So I did talk about the builds, the stats, the comps, the rotation a bit, although rotation in PvP is not always evident because obviously it depends on what's happening on your screen. I did talk about like the changes that you can make towards your builds and your glyphs. And I would say that the macros, like basically same macros as everyone. Like you do a focus macro for a kick on the healer, a fear on the healer, a mortal coil as well. You can have a focus macro havoc. Basically, that is something you will have to play in PvP arenas because there is no reason to not do that. So you can then easily do a havoc, or else you just tap target. You can also just do tap targets, but it's more easy to do with a focus macro because it doesn't require you to actually look at your screen while doing so. You just press one button and it becomes like a focus macro havoc. So just play that. You can also play arena 1, 2 and 3, whatever. That is not that important. Be sure to always have your buff up, Dark Intent. It gives you more stamina and spell power, which is always going to be very useful. And overall, always put your soul well always on the ground for arenas as well. I'll be making videos once arenas are out with like game plans and what you can do with the comps and what you should look for once you are like playing and trying to improve your rating. Right now it's a bit hard to do so because there is no arenas, and again, I don't want to go to the beta to show you arena gameplay because there is no one there right now. So this is pretty much my guide for Destruction Warlock. If you have questions, please let me know because I might have forgotten something. It has been a while since I did a guide. I think the previous guide I've made was on retail on the primary channel. Since then, like this secondary channel has been actually my primary channel because I have way more fun on classic. I just don't enjoy retail as much anymore. I'm going to post this on the second channel, maybe on the primary channel as well, with a bit of changes. But I think in general, if you want to have a lot of fun with your Warlock, play Destruction. If you want to have fun as a caster, I think Destruction Warlock is a great pick. You will be targeted, you will be having a lot of silences and interrupts on you, but you kind of learn to live with it. And I think it's more easy to cope with the ability to actually get out of stuns multiple times with your trinket or with your will to survive if you're human. And Unbound will obviously as your spell to be able to break CC, any CC, which is super strong. Like you can break polymorphs, right? So it helps to be able to always be doing damage, so that's helping as well. I'll be making a video about affliction Warlock as well, and also about demonology Warlock because I do play a lot of demonology Warlock, as you can see. It's my second spec, and those stats are really different from one another, so be sure to check it out as well. I'll be playing primarily Destruction Warlock. I'll be leveling other characters as well, so if you haven't played or you don't play Warlock, don't be scared. I'll be making a video probably about your next class as well. But I need to level them, I need to gear them up, I need to test a lot of stuff because again, I prefer to test myself. Instead of going for old information, I prefer to go test and play myself and improve on it and try to see, okay, that is what is the best advice I can give on that class. I'll be trying to go as high as possible, enjoy my time on a very fun class going into Mistweaver Classic. Have a great day. Bye.